Okay, you saw the title, so let's get straight into it. There's this movie out, Sinners by Ryan Coogler. Very niche indie movie, I know. It features Michael B. Jordan playing twins, which is always an interesting choice. Set in 1930s Mississippi and even has vampires. Yes, actual vampires. You heard that correctly. The buzz is through the roof. Critics are basically throwing roses. Audiences are hooked. And you know what else is happening almost like clockwork? The headlines, think pieces, a groundbreaking new piece of black media, a triumph for black cinema. Now, before we go anywhere, let's pause for a second. Celebrating black creators, black stories, black excellence. Absolutely, 100%. We live for that. But here's where I start to ponder and hit the pause button a little. Is Sinners, this apparently epic, sprawling, horror-infused historical drama, just a black movie? Or is that label, however well-intentioned, kind of reductionist and maybe even accidentally building a fence around the forest? Because I'm just gonna float this idea. While Sinners is undeniably, proudly, and powerfully black created, calling it just a black movie seems to me like calling a 7-layer cake some dessert. I mean, technically that's true, but you're losing all the good stuff in the description. And that distinction, it's not just me being pedantic with words, trust me. It's about how we see art, how we value who makes it, and the sneaky ways that we can end up putting brilliance in a box, even while we give it a round of applause. So, black movie versus black created movie. Why the hell am I here screaming in your ears about this? Well, let's think about it for a second. When a film gets slapped with the black movie tag, what's the immediate, often subconscious vibe for a lot of folks? It can easily become, this is niche, or this one's mainly for the black community, or the themes are gonna be, about the black experience, or the quiet part out loud. If you're not black, maybe this shouldn't be at the top of your watch list. Ooh, here's another one that really grinds my gears actually. The Mental Hysterics. Wow, this is really good for a black movie. Like it's competing in a special, slightly less shiny league. And that's the catch. It subtly, or sometimes not so subtly, puts a lid on the thing. It whispers that the acclaim that Sinners is getting for its visuals, for Michael B. Jordan's acting, for the themes that it explores, might be partly because everyone's trying to be supportive of diverse voices right now. As if black artists can't just drop a universally mind-blowing piece of media that stands on its own 2 feet without race being the first, middle, and last qualifier for its genius. That's not really upliftment to me, folks. That's a participation trophy with fancy wrapping. But at the end of the day, it's all about how you frame it, is it not? When Ryan Coogler makes a film that reportedly explores brotherhood, trauma, survival, the whole power corrupts deal, and the sheer grit of the human spirit against ridiculous odds, all set in 1930s Mississippi where, let's be honest, daily life in of itself was already a horror movie before any beasts or monsters showed up. Why is the loudest label so often its blackness, instead of its genre-bending audacity or its deep dive into the nature of evil, both the kind that wears a sheet or the kind that wears a cape? It's like how news sometimes reports on terrorism. If the person is Muslim, the headline often screams, Muslim terrorist, not a terrorist who happens to be Muslim. You see the difference? One ties the identity to the act as if it's inherent. The other focuses on the individual. When Sinners, a film that's weaving in Irish immigrant history and Choctaw lore with vampire hunters, gets boiled down to a black movie, it feels like we're admiring one really impressive tree and forgetting that there's a whole complex ecosystem around it. And weirdly enough, this kind of make me think about Get Out by Jordan Peele. Genius movie, by the way, but one of his sharpest points was about the consumption of blackness, black culture, black bodies, black cool, or black pain, all potentially ending up as a product on a shelf. Now, let me preface this by saying that I don't think everyone calling Sinners a black movie is doing exactly that. But when the label is so persistent, especially when the film is clearly juggling so much more, it can start to feel a bit patronizing. Is the excitement for the actual multi-layered arts, for the way Coogler supposedly bends historical grit with supernatural chills? Or is it for some a bit more surface level. Ah, a black trauma and triumph with vampires. How very 2025. I mean, it's a fair question if you ask me. Are we engaging with the soul of the arts, or are we just nodding it as a cultural artifact that fits the current moment? Now, let's be crystal clear. Ryan Coogler is a phenomenal director. Not a phenomenal black director, a phenomenal director who is black. The emphasis matters to me. Black Panther wasn't just a great black superhero movie. It was a global game changer for blockbusters, full stop. He gave us Wakanda, then he gave us Talokan. He doesn't just tell black stories, he builds entire worlds that speaks to everyone, even while they're unapologetically rooted in specific cultural soil. And Sinners sounds like it's got the same energy. It's in the Mississippi, the heart of black history and the blues. The juke joint that Smoke and Stack helped build is meant to be a haven, a place of black joy and business in a world designed to crush it. The monsters that they face are evils that, even though seen through a black lens, tap also into universal themes of oppression, exploitation, and the sheer will to survive. The fact that the head vampire is reportedly an Irish immigrant, that suggests that Ryan Coogler is stirring a much more complex pot of social commentary than just monsters are bad. And this is where just slapping on a label like black movie feels like trying to describe a hurricane with the word breezy. It just doesn't capture the scale, does it? When a film is reportedly using a setting and is scarce to talk about something that resonates way more than one specific experience, I think we need a bigger vocabulary. Think about it. Two brothers, veterans, trying to build something, maybe with money that wasn't exactly acquired through official channels. That's not just a 1930s Mississippi plot. That's a story about ambition, about tough choices, about trying to make a damn mark. Anyone who's ever had a dream bigger than their bank account can probably relate to some version of that. I know I can. Their bond, their struggles, that's human stuff, man. Their bond, their struggles, that is human stuff, man. And the music, I mean, if Sammy's guitar is really out there acting like a supernatural magnet, pulling in spirits and trouble alike, that's a pretty big statement about the power of art, isn't it? Art that moves people, that scares people, that changes things. The kind of power that doesn't check your demographic at the door. The juke joint is a sanctuary, sure, but the fight to keep that sanctuary safe from whatever wants to tear it down, whether it's systemic hate or literal creatures of the night, that's until as old as time. It's a universal struggle for a safe space, for a place to just be, against forces that want to erase you. That's not just a story, that's the story in a million different forms. So when Sinners supposedly uses vampires, these classic figures of predation and otherness, to explore things like colonization, the exploitation of culture, it's doing more than just telling a black horror story. It's using the specific to tap into something universally unsettling and deeply human. It's making us look at who we are, who the real monsters are. And that kind of filmmaking, the kind that makes you think, the kind that makes you squirm, and maybe even see your own world a little differently, that deserves more than a convenient shorthand. It demands that we actually engage with what it's doing, not just what category we're quick to shove it into. Okay, so I've been yapping for quite a long time, so what is the point I'm trying to make here? Am I saying that we should stop acknowledging that Sinners is a film by a black director starring black actors steeped in black culture? Absolutely not. Let's not be ridiculous here. That heritage is vital. It is a huge part of its power, its voice, its unique flavor. That needs to be shouted from the rooftops. But, and there's always a but, let's also use our words with the kind of care that art this ambitious deserves. Let's be aware of the unintentional cages that we build with our labels. Sinners is by all accounts a black created masterpiece. Its genius though, its horror, its social bite, its sheer cinematic guts, that isn't really on a restricted list. It's for anyone who loves movies that are thrilling, complex, and make you think, maybe even uncomfortably. To just call it a black movie and move on is like getting a party invitation and only reading the dress code. You miss all the important details. It's cinema, a really, really, really compelling piece at that. Made by black visionaries. And its power, that is for everyone. Because a Ryan Coogler vampire epic with Michael B. Jordan playing twins, wrestling with history, horror, and what it means to be human, yeah, that doesn't really fit in any small box that I know of. Now, if you'll excuse me, I think some of those vampires need to pay their taxes. So I'm gonna go head out now. Peace.